August 26th, 2021. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 240 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Now, Dr. Mike, you're a big Jeopardy fan.
Yes.
You and your wife
we
watch.
never miss.
Yeah, and of course, it's a big turmoil right now as they're trying to, find a new host for the show.
I'm not really happy with any of them.
No?
To be honest.
Okay.
I am not really happy with any of them.
Yeah.
Alex Trebek's hard to follow.
Yeah, right.
He was such a stalwart. Yeah, so I don't know. Me and Bilal will probably be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, you wanted to talk about a final Jeopardy from about a week and a half ago.
Right.
Yeah. The episode you watched was officially the season finale. It was on August 13th, right?
Right. And there's a guy who's been on it for a while. He's very good.
Right. Matt.
Yeah. He's very knowledgeable. Yeah. He does rub you a little the wrong way. People have, on Twitter and stuff have complained. Just his attitude. And my girls don't like it because he never says what is or who is. He always says what's or who's. And it's funny because, the answer is, you can bet on that. He'll say, what's you can bet on that.
Okay. So he just uses contractions.
He uses contractions. He's very curt. I mean, he does that in his regular speech when he's talking too, if you've noticed. So it's just kind of his attitude. He's just an odd kind of character.
All right. Well, tell us about this.
Not that he's a bad guy. Just a little different.
Well, tell us about this final Jeopardy. You had some thoughts about it.
Well, it came down to final Jeopardy.
I guess if we're talking, this is a gambling podcast, folks. So there is some game theory here, maybe.
Right.
I think you're going to talk to that.
Yeah. Well, basically, my point is I'm talking about how emotion plays into how you risk.
Okay.
And we all see that when we gamble, when we play craps. I'm very emotional. You're less emotional. But, people are emotional. They even on slot machines, right? And the casino kind of counts on that.
Sure. Oh, of course.
Because, somebody gets down and they'll pull out another 100 because they just sure they can get it back, right? And the next thing you know, they've lost 400 instead of the 200 that they thought they were going to lose. And the casino kind of counts on that. But this episode at the end was particularly fascinating to me and my wife and our daughters. We all four watched it, and we talked about it for like a half hour after it ended.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it came down to Final Jeopardy, and Matt, the champion, had $27,200.
Okay.
And then there was a lady, and she had $13,600.
So exactly half going into Final Jeopardy. Right. So that doesn't happen too often.
Right. And she was actually a very good player.
Okay.
She had actually been in the lead ahead of him at one point, but then she got a double Jeopardy question wrong.
Oh, okay.
And she lost a bunch of money. And so she ended up with exactly half of him. The third contestant was virtually out of the picture.
Right. He had like $2,400.
He had a very small amount.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way he could actually win is if they both busted. And that wasn't going to happen because that Matt would have to bet it all.
Right.
Now, if you haven't watched, he's a little aggressive, not like James Holzhauer was, in that, he'll bets it all every time. But the first time he gets a double Jeopardy, he bets it all.
Okay.
The second time, usually, he has a big lead, and so he'll just bet a smaller amount, like $2,000 or something.
Okay,
right?
sure. Mm-hmm.
So, he strategizes pretty well. And he's very sure of himself because he's a good player. Yeah. So it gets down to the final question. I don't remember what the question was.
It was a question, we won't go into it, but it was a question that had three possible answers, and you had to come up with two of them.
Two of the three.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so based on their betting strategy, we assumed that this woman would bet it all.
Right.
Because if she gets it right, she doubles her amount. She has the same as him.
Yes.
And then we assumed that he would bet some amount less than half.
Well, why wouldn't he just bet zero?
If he bet zero, it would be tie. And that's a legitimate move,
That's what I would have thought, right?
Yeah. Then he has to face her in a one-question playoff. And it really comes down to who's quicker with the buzzer.
No, I understand that. But if he bets anything
and gets it wrong,
and she gets it right,
he loses.
Then, right. So,
But I can understand him not betting zero because she was very quick with the buzzer.
Okay.
She was a very good contestant. And he might have thought, look, I need to beat her now because I might not beat her in, the one question. Because it really boils down to that tiebreaker thing is just who's quicker with the buzzer.
Okay, all right. So I see what you're saying is that since this is not a, time-based thing.
Right.
You have plenty of time to write your answer.
Right.
And everyone can answer.
Right.
And he's confident. So this is
he probably
his
saw the category and thought, okay, I know enough about this category or whatever.
Okay.
So,
all right. Very
so
good.
he bet. But it turns out she did bet it all.
Uh-huh.
And she missed it.
Right.
And so she ended up with zero.
Zero. Okay.
But then what was interesting to me is then he bet $1.
Okay.
So if he bets $1 and gets it wrong, and she by chance had gotten it right, he would have lost.
Yeah.
Right. If he bets $1 and she gets it wrong, whether he gets it right or wrong, he still wins.
Right.
So why wouldn't he have bet like $2,000 or $3,000? He only bet $1, and that's what we talked about. For quite a while.
What
and
difference does it make?
Well, immediately,
$1, $2,000, it doesn't make any difference.
No, it doesn't.
Because if he gets it wrong, he loses.
Right, and if he gets it right, he wins.
Yeah,
right. If she gets it right, if he gets it wrong, he loses. If she gets it right, he gets it right, he wins. If she gets it wrong, he wins anyway. It doesn't matter what he bets.
Okay,
right?
so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the more I'm thinking about it now is, why didn't he bet like 13,000, something like that?
Right.
Because that's money in his wallet, right?
Right. Well, that's my point.
Okay.
I mean, why wouldn't he? $1. Why wouldn't he bet 2,000, 4,000, 5,000?
Yeah, right.
He could have bet
because it's money.
He could have bet 13,000.
599.
Yeah, 599, right? I mean, he easily could have done that and he still would have won.
Yeah.
If, and if he gets it right, he gets way more money.
Okay.
And he's a pretty aggressive guy as his play shows, but he only bet $1. And my wife immediately turned to me and said, because his personality, it's more satisfying to win by $1 than to win by 10,000.
Huh. Interesting. Now, because I only watched this final Jeopardy clip,
right?
I had not been watching, so I didn't have any background on
his personality.
Nothing.
Well, we've watched him. We watch every night. So, and it's pretty obvious that his personality would be, I beat her by $1.
Okay, interesting.
And it's just the psychology of gambling. So, if James Holzhauer was on there, he would have bet, like we said, like 10,000, 13,000, whatever. He would have bet a certain amount, and he would have had confidence that he would get it right and win anyway. But just why not win more?
Yeah.
But this guy bet $1, and honestly, when she said that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. That it does fit his personality.
Okay.
So anyway, the point is that when you're gambling, it's so funny how your personality and your emotions come into how you bet.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
And as you're saying it, I'm thinking in terms of like poker, especially when it's our home game and we all know each other.
Right.
We might play a hand at a home game that we'd never play in a casino. Like, I'm going to play Deuce 7 and see if I could take Dr. Mike out.
Right. Well, because you know what you're up against, right? You know the personalities of all the people there. Yeah. And that's why poker is particularly interesting to me, because betting strategy not only has to do with statistics and odds, but also with personalities.
Oh, for sure.
And tells, people learn to read their opponents and stuff. Yeah. It's just so interesting to me. And when we gamble, all I can think about afterwards is how much our personalities come into play when we bet.
Yeah.
I get on a good roll, where somebody's made a bunch of 8s. Man, I just jack that thing up so fast.
Yep.
And you get same bet,
yep.
or you lower it.
I know. I'm a robot.
Yeah, you're like a robot, and I'm like a wild man. I don't know that either of those are particularly good. I mean, maybe somewhere in between is the right attitude to have. But it is funny how that comes into play, and it's just bet $1. What would you have bet?
Well, I don't know. I've never thought about being on Jeopardy. I know I wouldn't be very good because I'm not fast enough. I might know the answers, but I'm just not fast enough. Yeah. So I've never thought about it. I'd have to actually, look at the game and think about it. But you're right.
Yeah.
Really, if he's going to bet anything, and I'm thinking he should bet 0.
Right.
But
I probably would have bet 0 if it was me.
But if he's going to bet anything, why not bet the most that doesn't put him at any risk?
Right.
Which would have been 13,599. Yeah.
Or just make it an even 10,000. Whatever. You just want to win something extra, right?
Yeah.
Why would you bet $1?
Yeah. Well, if you want to check out the clip, just do a Google search on Jeopardy August 13th, 2021, Final Jeopardy. It comes up. It's pretty easy to find. I think it's on YouTube.
And see what you would do and see what your personality allows you to do.
Yeah. I'd like to think that, I'd be a smart Jeopardy wagerer when it comes to double Jeopardy and, that kind of thing. But I don't know. Under pressure, I'd have to practice.
Yeah. Well, and you have to be certain certain of yourself. Like Holzhauer,
well, that's the other thing.
He'd get a double jeopardy early on, and he'd bet it all, knowing that could take him down to even or behind other people. But he knew he knew the answers. He knew the categories.
Yeah. Well, speaking of poker, our big poker tournament is coming up here, our third semi-annual You Can Bet on That poker tournament. So let's talk about some details right now. It's going to be on Sunday, September 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 10 a.m. Pacific Time. It's going to be very similar to the two tournaments that we've had before. 20,000 play money chips are required to register. And remember, PokerStars gives you 15,000 chips every 4 hours. So all you have to do is just click on the free chips button at the top, and it gives you 15,000. Do that twice, and you'll have enough for the tournament.
Yeah, and if you're a new, just signed up with PokerStars, you sign up, you get some. The day before, go on, click on free chips and get some more. You'll have plenty.
Right. And if you don't have a PokerStars account, it's completely free. Just go to pokerstars.net, download the app, go through the process, come up with a username, then email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com with your email address and your PokerStars username. We will send you an invitation to join our home game group, at which point, once we approve that, you'll be able to register for the tournament.
And what's nice, just real quick, I haven't gotten any email or anything from some companies that might be linked to PokerStars after I joined up. Have you?
No, I don't get any kind of advertising.
Or anything.
Yeah.
No kind of advertising or anything. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that many things you sign up for that you don't get something later and think, oh, yeah, that's because I signed up for. I haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, so. That is nice. If you're already a member of our home games group, you should have gotten an email from us saying, hey, you can go ahead and register. You can register up till 20 minutes after the tournament actually starts. We've got a 20-minute grace period there. So at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time, then no more registration. Also, if you do register for the tournament and it turns out you're not going to be able to play, please unregister, because otherwise, you'll still show up as a player. You'll just be blinded off. But it also affects the play of other players. If there's just an empty seat there, but there are chips, well, people can take advantage of that. If you're on the button every time an empty, quote unquote, seat is in the big blind, well, you're going to raise more often because with nobody there,
they're
going to fold because they're not there. Anyway, a couple more details. So it is no limit Texas Hold'em. We're going to start with 3,000 chips. There will be hourly breaks. We will be awarding some prizes. For first place, a $100 Amazon gift card. Second place will get a $50 gift card. Third place, $25 gift card. We'll also give $25 gift cards to each of the players that eliminate Dr. Mike and me. And we just heard from Tim Lawson at The Better Life. He will also give a $25 Amazon gift card to the player that eliminates him from the tournament. Also, listener Richard, as he did last year, has offered to donate $100 to the charity of the tournament winner's choice.
That's great.
So if you win the tournament, you'll get the $100 Amazon card, and also Richard will make a $100 donation to a charity that you choose. The tournament's probably going to be about 4 hours. I think that's kind of what it was last time.
Yeah.
It was more weighted towards the final table for some reason last time. We'll see if that's the case again this time.
Right. The final table went a lot slower than I would have expected.
Yeah.
It's just the way the cards came up.
It was the way the cards came up, and I think the people that ended up there too were very patient players, and that's kind of the way that it ended up. So.
Which is usually who wins tournaments.
Yeah, that's right. You got to wait for those cards. So again, Sunday, September 5th, this will probably be the last episode before the tournament. So we hope to see you there. Mike, am I forgetting anything?
Well, I think you should mention that you do not have to be a seasoned poker player.
By no means.
Or even really have ever played.
You should know the mechanics of the game, Texas Hold'em,
and the rules. Mm-hmm. But, it's fun and you can play. And I had a tournament at my house once. The guy that won was probably the least efficient player there, and he won the whole thing.
Yeah, so. It is a short enough tournament, and the blinds go up quickly enough that there is a certain amount of luck to it. Obviously, better players have, some advantage. But again, anything can happen in a relatively short tournament like this.
Right, and since it's free and it costs nothing, just time, then, why not?
Yeah. So we hope to see you there. Well, we got an email from listener Brandon questioning when to actually make bets on the craps table. Let me read you his email. Even though I have a fairly good hang of the game and the flow of the table, I'm still having trouble getting my bets in before the stick sends the dice, bringing me to the question of etiquette of when am I supposed to hand the dealer my bets, specifically after a point has been established. After a point is established, I want to have a hard 6 and 8 as well as a bye on the 4 and 10. I am reluctant to start tossing chips in the middle for these bets while dealers are serving other players because, for one, I don't know if that is a rude thing to do or not, but also to not get my chips mixed up with someone else's. I usually wait for the player next to me to get served before I start handing the dealers my bets. But more than once, I've had to pull my hand back with odds for a come bet to avoid the dice hitting mine and the dealer's hands. So this is actually a pretty good question, Mike. You want to take it?
Well, okay, as I see it, the best thing to do after the come out is to take your money. Let's say you want a 6 and 8, you want $30 each. So just put $60 out in the come area. And then just say, 6 and 8. And even if they're putting somebody else's bets up, they'll get back to you. And if they don't remember what you said, they'll just say, okay, now what is this?
Yes.
And you say 6 and 8, 30 each.
Very good.
And that way you're not wasting anybody's time or anything. You've already got your money out there. As far as if you're going to bet a hard way or something, I say just throw it in, say what you want. And once again, if they're setting other bets up, they'll just let it sit there and then they'll pick that up and say, okay, what's this?
Yeah.
And then you'll say, okay, blah, blah, blah. So they are not offended by that. That is not bad etiquette. It's just go ahead and get it out there.
And, when different crews will behave differently too, and maybe you have to get used to how they are setting up the bets. Certainly, one thing that Brandon was concerned about is getting his chips mixed up with other people's. Well, when you throw the money into the middle, don't be just throwing it right into the middle so it's going to land on some of the bets right there, or, just shy of the middle, maybe still in the come area so that it doesn't get mixed up.
Or you can even put it in front of you with, let's say you're placing the 6 and 8, you can even put an extra $10 and say, that's hard 6, hard 8.
Yeah. And if the dealer in front of you says, oh, hey, for prop bets, throw them into the middle. Well, okay, then you've been told, right?
You've got your, and they do have, some of them like you to sit it down and say, some of you like to toss it, but they're very accommodating, all dealers to that.
But I like your point about when a point is initially established, just putting your money in the come area, because dealers know that that's what players are doing. They don't think that's a come bet. They think it's some kind of place bet or buy bet that they need to act on. And if it is a come bet, you say, oh, no, it's just a come bet.
And usually the first person to get their money in there is who they set up first. There's no order. They don't go around the table. Just whoever's there first, they're just quick to get it. Okay, this is this. And then, they'll grab the next one. Okay, now what's this?
Now, if you are making come bets and you want to take odds on them, what I would recommend is as soon as a number is rolled, say a 6, and the dealer's about to move your money up to the 6, have those odds ready right there. And, actually put them down next to your bet if he hasn't collected it yet. And then they'll know, oh, that's the odds. You don't have to wait until they've moved it up there. Just put your odds down there. And again, if the dealer has a way that he wants you to do it, he'll let you know, and then you can move forward. I try to be very fast with the odds to the point where, say, I know, okay, I've got $10. I know I'm going to take $10 odds. And as soon as the number's rolled, I've actually put the $10, leaned it on my base bet, like my $5 base bet, and then it's ready to go for the dealer. He just brings the whole thing in.
They know, they saw that you had a $5 come bet and they see the extra 10. They know that's your odds.
So act early, I guess, would be the thing. If you're concerned about, hey, the dice are out and I didn't get my bets out, just act early and get a sense for the flow of that game, the players, the crew, what have you.
It's obviously easier to do on a table with fewer players because there's less going on. But if you get on a packed full table, just set your money out there because they're going to ask you, what is this? They're not going to just assume that's an $80 come bet or something.
It's more of an art than a science. Mike, on our last episode, you were telling me the story about a don't player who went to the restroom in the middle of the roll, and he had a don't come bet on the 5 with odds, and they turned his bets off while he was away at the restroom, because that's the policy at Harrah's. If you walk away, they'll turn your bets off. And for most players, that's pretty easy. It's like, oh, they've got a bunch of place bets, okay, it's off, or something like that. But for a don't player, when you were telling me this story, I'm thinking, boy, this just doesn't sound right. What am I
Well,
missing
that's what
here?
bothered me. And for a don't player, it should work.
And, I wish it had occurred to me at the time. But the thing is about a don't come or a don't pass bet. I'm not talking about odds. I'm just talking about the base bet.
Yeah.
You can't turn those off.
Right.
Sure, you can take them down. You can completely take them down. But you can't say, oh, my don't come bet's off this roll.
Yeah.
That's not how don't come bets work. Right? So I have a real problem with that. I think it would have been bad enough if they had just taken his don't come bet down.
Right.
But that certainly would have made more sense than turning it. You can't turn off, just like you can't turn off a come bet.
Right.
Or a pass line bet. You can't turn them off. Oh, I'm not working this roll.
Right.
You can what?
Can you imagine the mess that would make?
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, there was no decision either way, so I didn't get to see what happened. And the other thing,
when he came back, did they turn it back on?
Yeah. They didn't even move it. They discussed among themselves. They said everything's off. Then when he came back, they told him, we turned your bets off while you were gone. So if you're going to walk away again, they're going to be off. Just remember that. He had no clue. He's like, oh, I didn't know that. And so, then he never left again.
Then the bet just stayed up there?
Yeah,
he came back and it was on again.
It came back and it was on again.
Okay.
Yeah. And then it was several rolls before it had a decision. So
yeah, that's just wrong.
Yeah, it was very weird. And I don't know, if it was just the pit guy being frustrated that he just walked away with bets up there.
Right. I know we're kind of getting into real minutia of the game here because this is not something that happens very much, but it did,
it just freaked me
more
out.
I thought about it after our last episode, I thought, that's not right.
Just freaked me out. I think it was maybe them trying to punish him a little.
Yeah. I know the pit boss that you're talking about, and I think you might be right.
I think that was more it than anything else.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's get to some voicemails. First up is Alex.
Hey, Mark, Dr. Mike. This is Alex from Maryland with a Vegas trip report. Went out a couple weeks ago, end of July, with one good friend of mine. And this kind of relates to what you guys were talking about as far as low rollers and a high roller table. We do pool our money, and we have been for years. We'll agree on a buy-in. He'll kind of play a more aggressive strategy at the craps table. I'll kind of hang out there with some place bets and a couple hard ways, and that way we both get to enjoy the action. It went really well. So I want to tell you guys about a strategy. I don't really recommend it, but it's fun for us. We call it the infinite come bet, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So, every roll, we just place a come bet in addition to the pass line and odds, and we put odds on those come bets. And then, it's kind of just off and on all day if you get one of those hot rolls, and we certainly did. It was just every roll is an off and on, and we collected. And we kind of came up with a new plan this time around where we would take the remainder, we'd take our win and round down. For instance, if we had like $1,300 profit, we would just call it 1,000 and take that 300 and put it in a high limit slot. Now, Mark, we don't believe in house money. We know that's not really a thing. It's our money, but that's how we chose to play. So at Mandalay Bay, we took that $300 extra. We put it into the Wheel of Fortune slot machine, and the very first spin was a $20,000 jackpot.
Nice.
So it reminded me of your sister-in-law, Elle. We must have just smelled the win coming, and we certainly enjoyed that. Last thing, we went to Circa just to check it out. We actually got crushed there. But beautiful property, awesome sports book. You know this already. Great dealers, great crew. We just loved it. But, hopefully next time we'll come out on top. As always, love the show. You guys are great. Take care.
Thanks.
We do talk about how there's no such thing as house money. That's your money.
Right.
But we know what they're talking about. Right. And we're just as guilty of doing it too.
Sure.
Right? You're on a hot roll. Sure. And, suddenly you've got your bets pressed up to, $500, $600. You certainly wouldn't have gone up to the table and made $500, $600 bets, right? But that's your money off it. But, we do it. So we understand.
Yeah. I'm glad he won. I mean, it's a great story.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that could happen every time.
Just take some house money.
Just take
go
a
to the
little bit of
slot.
your winnings. Go to some slot, hit 20,000.
Yeah.
Walk back to the craps table, buy in for 20,000. I'll have 20,000 across. Whatever way you want to divide that up.
It's house money.
It's house money.
I'm going to try to get you to do that. Maybe consistently. Mike, it's time for your slot play.
Yeah.
I'm just going to force you. Whatever slot's right behind us, I'm going to force you to play like max bet.
Right.
And whatever you win, hopefully it's a jackpot, but whatever you win, you got to come back to the craps table and bet it.
Just put it on a 4 or a 10.
Yeah. Give me a $2.30 for.
Either they're trying to, and what's the vig on that? Joe, what's the vig?
All right. Next call.
Hi, what's up, Yins guys? This is Drew calling from Pittsburgh. I've been listening to Yins for a long time. I actually just got through the final episode, so I have gone through the entire allotment of your podcast. I feel like I know Yins very well. I've been excited to call you. I just wanted to let you know that when I listen to your episodes, I never looked at your website, so I don't know what you look like, but I like to believe that Mark looks a lot like Chris Collinsworth, and Mike, I think you look like Danny DeVito. I am very excited to hang up and go to your website and find out how right I am or how very wrong I am. I am actually on my way to the casino right now after about a 1.5 year hiatus because of COVID and just the concerns with that, my pregnant wife and everything. So I'm very excited to be back at the casino, and I look forward to listening to you and talking to you again. Thanks for everything that you do. Bye-bye.
Hey, he's pretty close, Mark. I don't know if you look like Chris Collinsworth, but
I don't think we have pictures of ourselves on our website. I think if you go to our Twitter account and kind of go through some of the pictures, you can see.
I'll tell you what, the 60s have been rough on me.
It's you really
not the 1960s. It's the 60s years of ages.
I think it's a bit of a shock when you really don't want to see our pictures. I think unless you're
I don't know about that.
If you meet us, that's one thing.
You look like two regular guys.
Yeah, but we don't look like what we sound like. I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you and I have known each other for years, but no.
You think we sound younger?
Oh, yeah. I know we sound younger. Yeah.
Well, we're young at heart.
Yeah. I mean, we've got those personalities, but no, people say, I think it's, I'm.
Hey, and that's what I'm going to talk about at the end of the show.
All right. We'll keep it there.
Stay tuned for that, and you'll find out why we sound so young.
Okay. All right. Next up is Niles.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Niles from Chicago. I just listened to the podcast and good episode, guys. Great episode. I appreciate the input. Dr. Mike, sir, I wanted to call and answer your question about what's, random versus too random. I don't know. I do believe that setting the dice and tossing them in a consistent manner does have an effect on the dice. Obviously, we're all human. We can't throw them perfect every time, but, so you have a little bit more control over it, I feel. That's just my opinion. Whereas in the bubble craps, it's just bouncing those things around. I mean, it's just bouncing them, and they come to a stop, and wherever they hit, they hit. And I get it. When you throw the dice, no matter how they're set, when you throw them, they hit the back. And how they hit, but it's just how you throw them. I believe with setting the dice and throwing them correctly, you can have better outcomes than just taking them, getting them from the stick and tossing them. That's what I mean by random versus more random. And I hope I said that clearly for you guys to understand. But great episode. And so that's your answer, Dr. Mike. But I'll be giving you guys another trip report in the next couple of weeks. Appreciate the show. Great job, guys. And we'll talk to you. Bye.
Yeah, we were kind of teasing Niles because he had said that, the dice are too random at, shoot to win.
Right.
But you can tell what he's...
No, I understand exactly what
he's saying that basically at the machine, it's just completely random.
Right.
Whereas at the table, you can get into a rhythm and setting the dice and roll numbers.
And you might be shocked, but I agree with him because I do the same thing. Sometimes I set the dice a certain way and I have a good roll and I think, it's because I set them that way.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that's true. All right? That's just what I believe at the moment.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
Seriously, at the moment.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Okay,
and
but...
I'll give you an example. So this last weekend, this guy comes to the table he's kind of a D-bag. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And he went through this routine of setting the dice that took frickin' forever.
It was bad, yeah.
It was terrible. And even the dealers were a little upset.
Yeah.
He was having a great roll.
Yeah,
though.
he did.
He had a great roll, and I won quite a bit of money. But honestly, I kept thinking, if he just sevens out, I'm fine. Even though I've got a ton of money out there, I'm fine because it's driving me crazy. At one point, he stopped to ask the stick person if she would get him a beer. That's what a D-bag he was.
Yeah, he was basically saying, I'm not going to roll until you get me a beer. Yeah, he did say that.
And I screamed out, pass the dice.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looked over my way. He had a great roll. Now, here's the interesting thing.
Okay.
He had rolled twice after that, did the exact same stuff, had terrible rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, one was immediate out, one was like one numbered out. So it made no difference him setting the dice. But in that one roll, for whatever reason, it was going his way.
Okay. So what point are you making here, Dr. Mike?
I'm making the point that at the moment, what he was doing was working, but then the next time he did it, it didn't work. So what does that mean?
That means it's random. Yeah. And the first time, he did well, and the second time he didn't, and it's random. And it's know what my answer is going to be.
I know what you are. You're a machine, though.
I'm a robot.
You're a robot. We know what happens to them. Eventually, there's something that goes wrong, and they end up trying to dominate the world.
Well, and we succeed, too.
Yeah.
If I've seen enough
of times
movies.
They do, yeah.
All right, next call.
Hi, this is Steve from Virginia. Just calling back to give you a report on Harris Cherokee in North Carolina. Again, still requiring masks to be worn. All the tables were open. Went down for the poker tournament that they were having. While I was there, I managed to get on the craps table for a little while. I ended up buying in for $200 and cashing out for $6, so not bad. The better half decided she was going to play slots when she got eliminated from the tournament, as well as me. Poker wasn't great, but the slots actually did pay off. She hit a hand pay for $1,300, a hand pay for $2,300, and on our last day there, we decided we were going to go use our free play. And we stuck them into one machine, and she hit for $600. She gave me the ticket. I carried it over to another and hit for $7,000.
Nice.
So, all in all, it was a profitable trip. Most of the restaurants are open. I did not see the buffet was open, but the food court was open. The Italian restaurants were open. They have done a lot for the expansion, and it should be nearing completion going into the fall. So when you guys come out, let us know. I'd like to come down and see you. Anyway, y'all have fun. Good luck, and see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Yes, that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
For me, anyway.
I know. We've got to go to Harris Cherokee. We got
to take our wives and have a, do some
like a big trip.
sightseeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, big trip.
Boy, another big slot win here, Mike. I'll tell you, you know what do you think of this? I'm going to force you, and I only say force because I know you really want to get to the craps table.
Right.
I'm going to force you every week we go to play $100 on a slot. What do you think about that?
On a high limit slot? Like
whatever you want.
Pool, or
no, whatever you want. $100.
Just $100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm for that. I don't mind slots.
No, I know what you mean.
I like watching all those things go around.
Yeah, well, gosh, your dad and your brother love playing slots.
Yeah,
and everything.
I mean, I like slots.
All right.
I just,
I'll make you play $100.
All right,
because I'm certainly not going to do it.
Yeah, no, there's no way you're going to do it. You won't even put $5 in. I'll be more than happy to put $100 in a slot machine.
All right. Next up is Brian.
Hey guys, this is Brian from Charlotte, North Carolina. Just wanted to run by you my experience at my local casino, Harris Cherokee, and kind of get your opinion. I just wanted to say over the last year, I've attended maybe once every 3 weeks with a comp night and been able to play a little bit more often. But my level of enjoyment has recently, whether I've won or lost, seems to be tied more to the attitude of the dealers and the players at the table. And I've been around enough where I've experienced, probably much like you have, novice players, experienced players, and dealers of all sorts. But it just seems that now, even if a spot is open at a table, I tend to step back and almost get a feel for if the players or the dealers are in a good mood or if the camaraderie is enjoyable. And I just want to get your take to see if sometimes if you case the table before stepping up to play and just, the ups and downs of the camaraderie and if that's tied to your enjoyment level, whether you're winning or losing. Maybe I'm being overly sensitive, but I go to play and enjoy myself, and it just seems that more often than not, the attitudes at the table seem to be rude or just off-putting. I enjoy you guys' podcast. Thank you for all you do, and hope to catch up with you sometime. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. We completely agree that your experience is almost entirely based on the attitude of the players and the crew that you're dealing with.
You're not off base at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. And this is a good point for me to tell you a little story.
All right, sir.
This last week when you weren't there and I was there by myself, one night I went to get some free play and I played a little bit. And I was on one table, it wasn't going so good. And then they opened up another table. So I went over there. I was all by myself. And on a come out roll, I made a $5 world bet for the dealers. And the first thing I rolled like an 11. And Joel, who is one of our favorite dealers there, I always press all my bets and I parlay their world to a horn. So it would be a $16 horn.
And then as more numbers come, you basically just add to that horn, right?
Right.
Okay.
So that the next roll was like a 12 or something. And Joel said, I'm going to make it 20 instead of 16. I'm going to go to 20, take the profit. And he looked at me and he said, no, I'm going to move it back to the world. So if a 7 comes up, you don't have to cover it. Because if 7 does come up, I bet enough on 7 to cover all of our bets. And I keep the dealer's
including the dealer's bets.
The dealer's bets. So he was trying to be nice. He's like, I'm looking out for Mike. And I said, Joel, no need. I'm going to roll another craps. Anyway, here's the bottom line. Their $5 world bet, when I finally established a point of 5, they took their winnings, which they had all stacked up, counted it up, and dropped it. It was $2,743.
Oh, man.
$2,743.
That's great.
And every time I said, press it, Joel would say, let's put it on the world so you don't lose if a 7 comes up. And I'm like, no, Joel, don't worry. We're good. And he'd leave it there. And a couple times that 7 did come up, I had covered it with my 7 bet, which was so huge. I covered theirs. So when the stick changed and the next dealer, Tam, came up, I said, now, before I do this roll, would you like to move my bet to the world? And he said, why? And I said, go ahead, try. And he moved it up there. And I said, no, don't be stupid. Put it back. I'm going to roll a craps. And then I proceeded to roll a few more. But they turned a $5 bet into $2,743. And basically, my point is they're such fun. And we were having such a good time.
Yeah.
And actually, the head of the casino walked up in the middle of all that and was watching. And at the end, I said, I just want to let you know, the reason we come here, Mark and I, and it's a lot further to drive than the multiple casinos that we're way closer to, is we like these people.
I look forward every week to going, and a big part of it is being at a table with the crew up there.
Right.
It really is.
There's this one dealer, Jessica, I'm going to mention her name.
Yeah, she's great.
Because we tease her all the time.
Yeah.
She is so fun. Yeah. And we can tease her, and she just takes it. I said to her the other night, Jessica, you're my second favorite dealer in the whole place. And she looked at me and she said, oh, is it Tam your first? And I said, no, everyone else is tied for first. And every week she tells us to call her a different name.
Yeah, that's true.
That.
That's right. Now, getting back to Brian's call, he was asking if maybe things have changed, if it's like worse than it used to be.
Because of people's attitudes, maybe because COVID and stuff.
That kind of thing. I don't know that we can really speak to it ourselves.
No.
Again, because we go to this same place every week.
Right.
And we love everybody up there. We can't say for sure, but there have definitely been times where we will prefer continuing to play at a place where we're losing.
Right.
Because we love the crew, as opposed to winning, at a place where we're not really having that great a time with the crew or the people around us.
For us, it's our Saturday night, have fun, kind of.
But if we're in Vegas,
yeah.
When we move around, sometimes it's because we're losing, but a lot of times it's like, oh, I don't like the vibe here.
It's the vibe.
Yeah, the crew, they don't care what's going on. Yeah,
we're even. We haven't even really lost much, but let's go to the next casino because that crew's just not doing it for us.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike, this is Nick from Connecticut calling in again. Just listened to the last episode and heard the mention of casinos that have the self-serve soda stations. I do want to say that MGM Springfield takes the cake in that department. They have multiple self-serve soda stations, and they are the kind that you guys are talking about where you can press different combinations of cherry Cokes and whatnot using a touch screen. They also have coffee, tea, whatever else you want. The only thing that you need a waitress for there is bottled water and alcohol. Real quick, I'll tell you guys a story. One time I went to MGM Springfield. I go there at that time probably 3 or 4 times a week to play poker in their wonderful poker room. I do pretty well at poker. Go to the high limit blackjack, $50 table, right? This was a weekday during the daytime, high limit $50. It's the only place where you can get paid 3 to 2 in that casino. I'm not counting, I'm just playing normal. And, I'm fluctuating my bet. I start winning a little bit, and I will bet $50 on a couple hands, and then I would bet 200 sometimes. And I'm winning, and I'm winning, and I'm winning. And a guy comes up to me and says, hey, can I talk to you for a second, Mr. My last name? So I stand up. He makes me stand up from the table, and he says, hey, I'm just going to give it to you real simple here. We don't want your action anymore. Go cash out. And after going back and forth with the guy for about 3, 4, 5 minutes, basically they backed me off, and I wasn't counting. The next time I went there, I spoke to somebody at the kind of customer desk area, and they ended up having a boss person come back out and talk to me, and it was all sorted out. But I was backed off for winning at blackjack. And all my faith in Dr. Mike has also been restored about the whole coupon thing after hearing Mark's explanation. So I thank you guys for that. Goodbye.
That story is infuriating, isn't it? He's spreading from 50 to 200.
Right.
He says he's not counting.
Right.
And, if I'm looking for a counter,
right,
I'm not looking at a guy in the high limit room spreading 50 to 200.
Right. He's
and how long has he been playing? Oh, my gosh.
It's a guy spreading from, like a quarter to all of a sudden 1,000.
Yeah, something like that. Or multiple hands of, 200, 500, that kind of thing. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I'm glad things worked out. It gets back to what we're talking about, where casinos are so paranoid about counters when they really shouldn't. They should be looking for them. I understand that, but card counters, most of the people who think they're card counters aren't.
Right.
Yeah, I bring the card counters. That's another thing that's going to happen at our casino. Card counters, welcome.
Right. I mean, it's still not a guaranteed win either.
Oh, no.
You can count cards all you want, and you can increase that bet and jump up and make a 10 times bigger bet. Doesn't mean you're going to get
It's a small edge.
It's a small edge. So, I don't get what they're worried about.
But, I mean, getting back to Nick in particular, it's just terrible. I hated hearing that story.
Right. So. You see that new commercial for Circa where Derek Stevens says, he's going to put up so many millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And he said, last time you put up whatever it was, and this time it's way more.
Yeah.
And he says, bring it on. That's how your attitude should be,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
That's how their attitude should be. Good for Derek Stevens.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to take a bet.
Yeah. All right. Next call.
Good morning, guys. I just started listening to the podcast, and I've been playing craps for maybe about a year now and going to the casino. And I was just wondering if y'all prefer the crapless craps table or your standard craps table, and also if you have a different strategy for the crapless craps than you do for the regular craps. Thank you very much. Love the podcast. Bye.
Yeah, both of us definitely prefer the regular craps tables. But if we ever do play crapless craps, I definitely change my strategy because when I'm at a regular table, I'm betting pass line, I'm making come bets, that kind of thing. Sometimes on the don't. Well, I don't want to be making pass line and come bets on a crapless craps table where my point could be 2 or 3. Plus, you can't bet the don't at crapless craps. So I definitely, change. It's been a while since I've played crapless craps, but what I would probably do is, place the 6 and 8, maybe buy the outside numbers, including like the 2, 3, 11, 12, buying them. I don't know. I might go something like that.
There are not that many crapless craps tables around.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of casinos don't have one. So first of all, you have to find a casino that has one.
Right.
And second of all, we don't go in a casino saying we're going to play crapless craps. Now I have, and the times I have played it is when the rest of the craps tables are full.
Yes, exactly.
And I just go over there and play, and I just basically play the same way.
Same way you normally play?
I take the inside numbers, 4 through 10. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you are making a pass line bet and odds and
I'm
that
making
kind of
a
thing?
pass
Sure.
line and odds.
Yeah.
So, sometimes my point's 3 or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And I just, so it's 3, and then I just take the rest of the inside numbers.
Yeah.
So that's the way I play it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call. Glad you found us. All right, next up is Landry.
Hey, how's it going? This is Landry from Orlando giving you a quick craps report. I just got back from Vegas. We did make it down to Resorts World early Saturday morning, and the place was dead. I don't know, there had to be probably no more than 50 people on the casino floor. It was pretty much dead. I was walking around, and would you believe it or not, I found a $10 craps table, $10 minimum on the strip, and 2 empty tables, which is what I prefer because it allows me to go ahead and shoot the dice. So you can bet I ran up there and bought in at the $10 table. Started off with the $10 pass line bet. I did a $1 two-way, all tall, small, and then a $2 two-way craps bet. And then the first 2 rolls were a 7. Well, you think you'd win, but that's actually a wash for me because by resetting the all tall, small, and the craps bet, so I really didn't win on that. But after those first 2 rolls of hitting a 7, it was pretty much a show. It was like a Stephen King horror movie watching it for the rest. My longest roll with a 7 showing up was on the 4th roll. Other than that, the 7 would appear on either the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, every time. Could not get past the 4th roll without the 7 appearing. So really, the entire session, not a single win. Even the place bets, nothing. The dealers were amazed, dumbfounded. They had no idea. They said they'd never seen such a bad session. But, of course, you can bet I did go ahead and try doing a couple other sessions at the Cosmo. That's where we stayed, and I really liked the place. They had about 4 to 6 tables open. They were all $25. Last time I was there in March. So since March, they replaced one of the tables with that roll to win crap game. And the one neat thing, I didn't play that at all, but the one thing I did notice and I liked about that, it keeps track of each shooter's roll. And I walked by and the guy was up to 34. He did 7 out on the 35th roll. So I thought that was actually pretty neat to be able to walk by and see how well you're doing. Because I know I can't keep track at any time when I'm at the table. But all the tables were 25. They were all packed, and I don't foresee the minimums for these tables ever coming down. Now, the one story I wanted to say is the sessions really weren't going that well. The guy next to me bought in. He got a whole stack of $100 chips. He did a $100 bet on the all tall, small each. Then he did the $100 hard weight bet. Then he had like the $200 on his pass line bet. Then he rolled, and normally when I see somebody like that, I start betting big too, because I figure if they're putting out that much money, they got to be a pretty good shooter. So he was right after me. He set the point, and I'm half tempted. My wife gives me that look because she knows that's what I'm going to do, and she shakes her head a little bit. So I said, okay, I'll wait. And sure enough, his next roll, he's 7'd out. I was like, oh, man. So I'm glad I didn't do that, and I couldn't believe the guy probably lost over $1,000 on that one roll. But the one thing I did see, normally when I'm walking by a table and I want to get in, I don't want to buy in the middle of the roll. I will throw $20 on the table, which is what I did, and I said a $5 hard way each way. And the dealer said, no, he could not do that, which is unusual because I've seen them do it at other tables. But for some odd reason, they would not do it this way. So I don't know if that's something new. Have you seen anything like that where they won't take a cash bet? He said, no, I have to stop and buy in, which I was not going to do, and break the rhythm of the shooter. So that was the only question I had. But keep up the good work. I really enjoy listening to the show. Take care.
Mike, have you ever heard of that? I've never seen that where they refuse it, cash, just to make some bets.
Yeah, but it might be, I was thinking when he said it might depend on where the dice were. They were getting ready to send them or something.
Well, okay, that makes sense, sure.
Because at Harris,
it didn't
sometimes
sound like
you'll see something change only after the roll. Somebody will throw money in. They'll just say, okay, change only after the roll.
Yeah, sure. But Landry, according to his story, it's like, no, you can't do that. You've got to buy in.
Yeah.
You know what? We'd have to have seen it, but we've never seen, like you said, other than, hey, the dice are out. No, we can't do it right now. Or
I would think if I had to just pick a guess without actually being there, I would think it was just some dealer who just didn't want to.
Yeah, just an ornery dealer.
Yeah, just didn't want to deal with it at that moment for whatever reason. So it's like, nah, you buy in and wait,
Yeah, that's time to move along. Like we were saying, good crews and good attitudes. He was talking about that terrible run when he first got there. We've had those, every craps player's had that, where it's like, oh my gosh, how many sevens? But honestly, the worst run ever, it was at Hard Rock, Atlantic City for Gamblepalooza. You weren't there at that table, Mike. There were just a few of us.
I was at another table.
You were at another table, and it was amazing. It was immediate 7. So in other words, every other roll was a 7.
Yeah.
0.7.
Yeah.
It was uncanny.
I remember that. I remember you coming over.
I know. I'm looking over at you.
We were doing okay.
You're raking in the money, and that was awesome.
I was over there with Joe. Joe and I were on that table, and you were at another table.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Todd.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Todd calling from Iowa. Trip report. I was in Vegas starting August 6th for 4 nights. $5 craps at Ellis Island. It's always fun. That's about the only $5 table we found, including downtown. Definitely nothing close to that on the strip. All the blackjack on the strip is 6 to 5, unless you want to get to probably $100 minimum. We'll get you 3 to 2. But anyways, fun trip. We mostly play poker, and we ended up profiting slightly for the trip, so it was a lot of fun. One thing I wanted to talk about from your last episode, there was a caller who was talking about how he meant to bet the odds on the craps machine and did not because the supervisor was there. He was working with him, and he told him to cancel his bets, and he didn't realize it was canceling all his bets, etc. My opinion on this is there's 2 parts to it. The first is what's fair. I think that when you're looking at what's fair, you got to think what would happen if the reverse had happened. So if the 5 had not hit, if the 7 came, would he have taken $20 out of his pocket and given it to the casino? And I think that the answer is no. So in that case, I think that what's fair is that he does not get paid because he would not have paid if it would have gone the other way. So looking at not getting pre-rolled or free-rolling is how I gauge what's fair. The second part of it is what's right for the casino. And I think something like this is a perfect example of when the casino should make it right, per se, have good customer service, and pay him, which I think they ended up doing, which is right. I would not have had a strong objection to them not paying him, though, based on what I said initially. Anyways, like listening to you guys, lots of fun. You guys make me laugh, so keep it up. Thank you very much. Bye.
So I'm glad that Todd kind of argued both sides here.
Right.
And I would agree.
And they're both legitimate arguments.
Yeah, I would agree with him if this had taken place in a vacuum, so to speak.
Right.
But there are a couple things that really made this different. Number one, the floor person told Robin to hit the clear bet button. They were trying to find out where to put odds for a come bet on this machine. They couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And so the floor person actually told him to hit clear. And that Robin didn't know that would clear his odds bet as well, right?
Right.
Also, Robin had been helping them out as sort of a guinea pig for this whole new stadium gaming, right?
Right.
Which clearly had bugs. He was talking about how he'd make like hard way bets and at one roll they'd be gone. They'd be pulled down automatically. They wouldn't lose, but they wouldn't stay up.
They wouldn't stay up.
Things like that. Given that,
Right.
they really should have. I mean, it should have been
what they really should have done is said, "Hey, we want to try this out. We're going to load $100 on here for you.
Yeah, right.
Make some bets. Keep whatever you win. If you lose, whatever."
And okay, you could argue that Robin's got a free roll going there. Okay, and I agree. That probably is the case. But I'll tell you what, Mike. There are plenty of times where you or I will forget to put our pass line odds, and we always take odds, right?
Right.
And the casino knows that. And sure enough, in a lot of cases, they'll say, "Oh, Mike, you didn't have odds." They'll call the floor over. "Oh, Mike meant to take odds." and they'll just say, okay, Mike, put the bet down and we'll pay it. Yeah. And that's a free roll for us.
Right.
But we've never done it on purpose.
No.
We've never done it on purpose.
It's almost always because I'm screwing around, talking, saying something stupid, and I just forget to.
Yeah. So this is what we're talking about, good customer service. Yeah, Mike, there are plenty of times where you have forgotten to take odds and you're embarrassed and you'll just say, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
Don't even pay me.
Sometimes I should have been paying attention. I know it and I forgot. And they want to pay me and I'm like, no, I didn't. It was my own stupid fault. I'm screwing around. I'm either pointing something out to you or saying something stupid or doing something. We're having fun and then we forget to make bets.
Yeah. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike, this is William from Fort Worth. A couple quick questions for you. Hey, what's the best way to get good audio on a voicemail that we leave for you guys? I just know some people have really good, clear audio voicemails. So what I've done is, and I don't think mine are great, but it's the voice memos on the iPhone. So I recorded on that. I've done that where I practice on it, actually. I was thinking I want to know, can we send those to you? If I email you, you can bet on that at gmail.com. Can we email you a voice memo? Because that way we can practice on our own and send you a good copy, not one of the really screwed up ones that I usually do 3 times. And then I try to get through it on a voicemail. But what's your experience? What's the best way to get good, clean audio for you guys so that it sounds good? Second question. This has been touched on before, but so now Caesars Properties are doing the badge. We can earn badges from going from casino to casino, which really sounds fun to me. But I worry about the ADT, which you guys talk about. So typically I go a few times a year. I play a lot at Caesars and a lot at Cromwell, and then I'll just kind of stick and move at a few of the other casinos. So my question is, so let's say I do my normal play at Cromwell and Caesars, I'd probably get every badge. And then if I go, say, to Flamingo and Harrah's and do their badges, and I don't spend very long there, just enough to get the badges, does each property individually have their own ADT so that would only screw me on those properties? Because I don't get offers from them, very good offers anyway, but I get great offers from Caesars. It's usually like $750 a month to come out there, which I think is pretty good. It's more than I've ever gotten anywhere else, but that seems to be every month. So anyway, is it overall Caesars, will they pull these ADTs together and that will really hurt me to do this challenge? Hopefully you understand my question. Just let me know what your thoughts on that. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so William's talking about this program called Quest for Rewards that Caesars has. And, when you stop in different properties, you get these badges for playing there, eating there, slots versus table games.
Right. It's their way of getting you to go to as many properties as possible.
Right.
And I think they really want you to go to properties in different parts of the country.
Well,
what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's basically you get tier credits when you earn these badges, right? And I guess you can get entered into some giveaways too, but really it's only for the tier credits or just to try to do it. Our understanding is that, yes, each property has its own ADT.
Right.
So it would only hurt in the properties that, you're only in for a little while.
Right.
But even
if you're not going there regularly, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, big deal.
Wouldn't really hurt.
But even if we're wrong, even with this whole El Dorado thing, and now they're combining ADTs,
right.
Well, that's not going to hurt you because you're still playing a lot. In fact, that would be better for you.
That would be better, right? Yeah, you'd get a lot more play, right?
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know that it's really worth it for the tier credits. It's sort of a moot point now because the promotion actually ends August 31st. So there's only like a week left to do it now anyway.
Right.
But we don't think it would affect your ADT adversely in the places where you actually do play a lot. Yeah, as far as the audio goes, anytime you hear really clear audio on our show, it's somebody who has emailed us an audio file. And William, it's just like you're talking about. You can do that just using your voice memo app, or sometimes it's called voice recorder, I think, on Androids. Yeah, just make a recording that way. And when you're done, there should be an option or a pull down or menu or something where then you can just email it to us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. And that's what people do. Yeah, they just send the audio files. We know for most people, it's just easier just to hit the phone number and go. So we'll always have that. But yeah, if you want to give us an audio file, by all means, send it to us.
I'm laughing because that's why I don't call into any other podcasts or anything.
Is that why?
You know me and technology.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You have a hard time even making a phone call.
I do have a hard time with the phone.
Yeah. All right. Next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Michael from Indianapolis. A couple episodes back, you guys had a caller ask if you guys had a routine for when you're the shooter or any sort of ritual that you do, setting the dice or going through any sort of rhythm or whatnot. And you were talking about these people that have these elaborate routines You just want to turn to them when they 7 out and ask what went wrong. Dr. Mike, you said you wanted to do that a couple of different times, but were afraid of getting punched out. I just wanted to call and tell you a story. I actually got to witness something a lot like that this week at the casino. It was myself and about 4 other guys that all seemed to know each other. It was just us at the table. They were drinking quite heavily and progressively getting more and more drunk as the night went on. And then a new guy walked up, and he was one of those that had probably one of the most elaborate routines I've seen. I'm not kidding, probably 45 seconds between his rolls. Everything from mini rolls into the back wall to get the exact combination he wanted or something. Rubbing the felt and taking deep breaths. And then right before he tossed the dice, he'd yell, "Let's go, baby." Every single roll. It was super annoying because it took forever. And he only ended up rolling about 3 times before he 7'd out. And the guy next to him, who was probably the drunkest of the 4 friends that were there, turned to him and goes, hold up. I know what you did wrong. Let me show you. So he gets the dice, goes through the exact same routine that this guy did, takes 3 deep breaths, looks him straight in the eye, and just shakes him up as much as he can and yells, "It doesn't effing matter," and then tosses him down as hard as he can against the back wall. He did that about 3 times right in the guy's face, but we were all trying really hard not to laugh, and the guy ended up leaving the table. I think that was kind of the ultimate what went wrong, but had to share that with you. And then also last episode, Andrew called in, and you guys were discussing the birth of a second child and how somebody was considering 7 as a name for their kid. My son is now 9 months old, and when he was born, I didn't name him 7, but the doctor called out that he was 7 pounds, 11 ounces when he was born, and the first thing I said is frontline winner. My wife just looked at me from the, said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "He's going to be a craps player." Anyway, thanks for the show. Keep up the good work, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Best phone call of
those were
year.
great stories, weren't they? Yeah.
That's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to beat. Oh
yeah,
my
thanks
God.
for those, Michael.
I'm laughing. I would have loved to have been there for that guy. I know what you did wrong. And then he shows him. And he shows him what he did wrong.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, frontline winner. That'd be a great name.
That'd be a great name for a kid. Yeah.
It'd be great if the doctor just turned to him and said, "Yeah, let's parlay."
What does that mean?
Here comes number 2.
All right. Next up is Alex.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Alex from Atlanta, Georgia. I've got a bit of a dilemma going on. I know the poker tournament is scheduled for Sunday, Labor Day weekend, but I will also be in Biloxi, Mississippi, hopefully at the craps tables. So I'm not quite sure. I fear that my streak of final tables is coming to an end unless I could manage to put the phone on the rail and play some poker and craps at the same time. The other option I thought about is sitting at one of those electronic games, I guess bubble craps or what have you, and playing, but I'm not sure. What would you guys do? Anyways, I hope y'all are doing well, and I will give y'all a trip report once I get back and let you know whether or not I was able to make it on or if I set this one out. If I do sit it out, please don't count it as it ending my streak. You are the official judges, so I just beg of you. Thanks. Hope y'all are doing well. Bye.
Yeah, so Alex finished in 5th place. He was at the final table, both of our tournaments,
Right.
finished in 5th place in the first one and 4th place in the second one.
Yeah, we were expecting top 3 this time.
Yeah,
Alex.
I'll tell you, Alex, if you don't
Hey,
play...
there's a guy out at Harris Rincon, that big gambler guy. He plays the table all the time, and he's usually
that's
playing
true.
poker at the same time on his
Yeah.
phone. Real poker.
If they'll let him do it, it depends on the casino. I would
Right.
imagine that, if you're to shoot to win or stadium gaming, they would let you do it. But Alex, I don't think we can make any special exception for you if you don't show up. We'd have to make exceptions for everyone. I think you have to play, Alex. I know you're going to be in the casino. It's like, oh my gosh, how can I spend 4 hours at our
How
tournament?
about
But,
just a video poker machine? He can play on his phone and play
just
video
been playing poker, right? And the eye in the sky will just think, oh, this guy's a degenerate. He's not pulling anything by
He's
having his
playing
phone
video
open.
poker here, and he's playing poker at the same time.
Well, we hope to see you there, Alex, but if you can't make it, we certainly understand.
Yes. That'd be a rough choice for us.
Definitely.
For
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
especially.
yeah. Well, we've actually got a lot more phone calls, but I think we're going to hang on to them till our next episode. I did want to say one thing. Coming up probably this next week, Tim Lawson and I are going to be talking about a new movie coming out called The Card Counter. So tune into the Better Life podcast next week. We're going to have a preview of that movie. It doesn't come out until September 10th, but some people have been talking about the trailer that's come out, and it obviously takes place in casinos and what have you. So we're going to have a preview for that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank some people for some recurring PayPal donations. Nathan, Brian Dancer, Brian and Sarah, and Josh. Thank you very much. Also, we got a donation from Bill, karma donation for upcoming trips, and hoping for a swift end to border restrictions. Fingers crossed for Dr. Mike's October plus December trips to Vegas. Hope by that time Vegas is still open and the U.S. allows us visitors from north of the border. Yeah, hopefully, Bill. My understanding was that the borders were open, but I don't know if there are restrictions depending on...
I think that's almost a daily thing, Mark.
Oh, yeah. So we hope to see you down here, Bill. Also, a donation from friend of the show, Miguel. He says, totally self-serving karma donation for my Vegas trip on the 25th, which is, oh my gosh, he may be there right now. So
right. Well, that's today.
Yeah. So hopefully you're having a good time, Miguel. Thank you very much. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings. And our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can send us an email at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. All right, Mike, what did you have here you were talking about for the end of the show?
Well, the other day, we drove separately out to the casino.
Yeah.
And I was driving out there, and I was thinking about, and this is a roundabout story, Mark, so be patient.
Oh, man.
I was thinking about one of my uncles. He's passed away a long time ago. He was a guy, he loved animals.
Okay.
I mean, a huge animal lover. He had a farm and he took in every animal you could ever think of. Mm-hmm. I went with him once to an auction. He bought a donkey.
Okay.
I said, "Why'd you buy that donkey?" He said, "Because nobody else was going to buy it." Mm. And he just wanted it to have a home. Mm-hmm. And, my grandmother, his mom, would always yell at him, like, "You got all these animals. They don't do anything for you. You spend tons of money." But he loved animals. Mm-hmm. It was his passion. So anyway, when my wife met him for the first time, he had just been to Alaska. And so he had an RV and he drove up to Alaska. And I said to him, "Oh, you just got back from Alaska. How was Alaska?" And he said to me, "Alaska is the greatest place on the planet because you can step out of your RV and right into the food chain." Uh-huh. And it wasn't until I was driving the other day and I was thinking about him and I thought, you know what it was? It wasn't about like trying to be funny or anything. He loved animals. And for him, that was like what fueled his fire.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about us because I'm heading to the casino and I'm thinking, these trips on Saturday is what fuels our fire. And that's what keeps us young.
We
right?
really enjoy them. Yeah. We really do.
And we enjoy goofing around and everything. So it keeps us young. We're not stodgy sitting at home. And so I was thinking, why isn't everybody... Now, for you and I, our first passion is our families. Mm-hmm. Our immediate families.
Yeah, we're very close to our families.
And our friends. Mm-hmm. We're very close with our families. We do a lot of stuff with our family and friends. But our second passion is, our trips to the casino and our gambling. And it does, in a way, keep you young. And I think the world would be better, Mark, if everyone found their passion.
Well, I mean, I agree. It's tough, right? Because not everybody can, right? Not everybody knows what it is.
Right. Not everybody. Yeah. But search for that.
Yeah.
It's the key to life.
Yeah,
search for your happiness. In my uncle's case, it was animals.
Yeah.
For us, it's going to play craps at the casino.
That's right.
And I mean, whatever it is that fuels you, it'll keep you young, happy, healthy. But anyway, I was just driving and I was thinking, this is the perfect example of what makes us happy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that is good. If people can find their passion, I know it's hard because we're very lucky. And I know that,
yes,
right? Because we have found something that we enjoy and we, have a podcast about it, right?
And somebody asked me not too long ago, why do we do it?
Yeah.
Somebody out Harris said, well, why do you guys do that?
The podcast?
Yeah, the podcast. I said, well, we do it because we just love it. I mean,
yeah,
it's just something
we're going to talk
into.
about this anyway, right? You and I are going to have this discussion anyway.
Right.
So
we might as well
why
let
not
other
record
people
it?
listen. I mean, we have to cut out a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that can't be said over this mic, but the gist of it's still there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. And the last thing I got to say is the baseball season's over.
All right, let's not even talk about it. It's even worse than last episode when you talked about it. Yeah, I agree. All right.
I've gone into mourning.
Yeah. We hope to see everybody at the tournament. Again, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, September 5th. Thanks for listening.
Good night.